Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. This is the match preview for Everton versus Wolves. We're going to be talking about Sean Dyche's press conference, a little bit of tactical analysis, look at our opposition team that we're playing against, and we'll talk about some other things such as transfers and, of course, open up the forum in the comment section. So good afternoon to you all very quickly. Hello to David, Emma, Kevin. Welcome to the comments. I'm Peter. Thanks for joining. I'm sure there'll be others and loads watching back. And Steve, my brother. Okay, no pressure. Right, Sean Dyche's press conference started off. To be honest, he was asked all the sort of questions that I think the fans wanted to hear. But he was very evasive. And overall, his demeanour, Sean Dyche, come across quite nervous. The body language, touching the head like that, and let me fix my hair. Touching his head when asked some difficult questions was a sign for me of nervousness and an uncomfortable body language from him. And it's understandable because he's being asked about things, and a lot of them are not quite within his control. I mean, certainly the external factors surrounding the investment and surrounding transfer business not 100% within his control. And you can understand why he's frustrated because, he's the figurehead of the club and has to answer these difficult questions. I just want to try and, first of all, dissect the press conference, and then we'll talk about some Wolves' approach, how they've been doing, etc. But I just want to stick onto the press conference for now. He was asked about the injury news. So Calvert-Lewin, there's still a swelling on his cheek, which is understandable, and he's seeing a specialist tomorrow, but he's out. He did mention the protocols for the FA as well, so we don't know how much of it is to do with the cheek and how much is it to do with the concussion protocol. But he's definitely out for the game tomorrow, which is it's understandable. I think we all expected that. It's disappointing, but it was to be expected. He also confirmed that Alex Iwobi, unfortunately, has suffered a hamstring injury, and he'll be out for weeks rather than days. Again, that's a big disappointment because you're looking at the wide areas and you're looking and they look extremely thin. The only options actually available are Arnat Danjuma, Lewis Dobbin. I don't even think there's anyone else. Well, there's not because of natural sort of wide options. Sorry, not tomorrow, Steve. Saturday. Danjuma and Dobbin are the only options that he's actually got for the wings, who are natural wide options, because there's injuries to Jack Harrison. He's back on the grass, but he's probably not going to be back before the international break. Dwight McNeil is still 3 weeks away or something similar sort of time to Jack Harrison. Alex Iwobi, again, I think you're looking international break. So all three of them are injured. And then, unless I'm missing someone, there isn't anyone else who can play on the wings. Naturally, you could argue Ashley Young can play on the wing, but hasn't really been a wide attacking player for a number of years. So it's a little bit lightweight there. In terms of other injury news, you're looking at in the defense. It's fairly solid, in terms of availability of the players. Mikalenko's fit, Young is fit. The only one missing that I think notably is Seamus Coleman. He's going to be a number of weeks away before he's back in the team. But in midfield, the injuries is Andre Gomez has got a bit of an ankle knock, so touch and go with him. Obviously, Gabamin's not back with the group, and I doubt he will return with the group at any stage. I think he'll eventually leave. Possibly if he's still injured, he won't go this window and end up going in Jan. It's just very unfortunate. But and of course up front we've got there are players available in terms of Neil Maupay and Tom Cannon, and Chimiti is medically fit, but he's not match fit. So certainly on the wings, it's desperately light. Up front, the options are not enamoring, and I'm concerned about a number of positions of who we start for this game. Sean was asked about transfers. Of course, he says that the selling club and Everton need to align. He made it very clear without saying we are skin. Money is the problem. He was asked why he was unable to get a deal for Che Adams over the line. By the way, Southampton apparently looking for £18 million for the striker, according to Sky Sports. He said basically they're costing a lot of money, the strikers, and it's hard to get the deals over the line, the structure and the way both the selling club, the player, and Everton need to be aligned. He said there's one obvious reason why we haven't been able to sign a striker, and that is absolutely down to money. He was asked about Chimiti. He was asked why he was signed, where he was at, and Dyche said he was not ready. He's only just joined the group, been training, doing well. And then a really direct question was asked about, what would you have wanted to sign someone who can make an immediate impact and who is actually ready if Chimiti's not ready? And Dyche's answer was the deals that we are trying to do are the deals we can do, and this is a deal that we could do. So doesn't say to me that he was a player that he desperately wanted. Maybe it was one that the director of football wanted. But it was just a deal that could be done, but it's not necessarily a deal for now, a deal that's going to have an immediate impact. But, he was also asked about Michael Keane and Jared Branthwaite, and he kind of used the excuse that Branthwaite had been late back to pre-season. But so would James Garner. So for me, that didn't wash. He said that Branthwaite was new to him. So it kind of made a little bit of sense, maybe that he doesn't quite trust Branthwaite yet or know about him, but that he's in contention. In fact, that all of them are in contention. So it was a little bit of a mixed press conference. I think it got a lot of criticism from Twitter from what I'd been reading. I think there were people who thought it was a bit weak from the manager, poor press conference. Some of the answers were a little bit described as shocking. A few people said that the signing of Chimiti on the back of that answer was absolutely baffling. It's just a little bit laughable. So, I mean, we've had a tough start. He said we've had a tough start in the sense of one bad performance, but in the context of Fulham, we should have won that game, and it's not a crisis yet. But thankfully, the journalist, when they were talking about it, whether it was a crisis or not, actually did say, the fans need a lift. The fans feel like this is a continuation of 2 previous seasons. They're not actually treating this as an isolated season, a brand new start, and the expectations are high and we're crumbling. We're looking at this as kind of like 3 seasons merging into one of complete misery, with literally nothing exciting to talk about and no good news. I'll talk about transfers and I'll talk about the investment a little bit later on towards the end of this video. But in terms of Wolves, Wolves were quite good against Man United. I think they were the better team on the day. I think United looked lightweight. Wolves moved the ball really well. And they had Cunha up front who could do everything but score. He had a lot of sort of link-up play. There's a cat that's about to walk in front of the screen. I do apologise. Just behave, please. And I've completely lost my trail of thought. Yeah, Wolves, in a way, they were just lacking that top-end sort of player to finish it off, and they looked quite good against Man United. But then when they went on to play Fulham, Brighton, they got absolutely destroyed away from home. I think it was 4-1. Or were they at home? They were at home, weren't they? Wolves were at home and they got destroyed by Brighton. So, they've had 2 difficult fixtures. They've got 2 defeats. The talk before the season started was that Wolves had no money. And so as a result, everyone's written Wolves off and saying that they're going to be at the bottom, as relegation contenders. In terms of relegation contenders, I would have thought the likes of West Ham, Bournemouth, Palace, Fulham will all be around the bottom. But I'm looking at the way they're doing the business and the way they're strengthening. And I'm struggling really to think of who's going to be our competitors this season. Certainly think Sheffield United and Luton will be there or thereabouts, and Burnley possibly. But you have to hope that someone like Wolverhampton Wanderers is going to be at the bottom, and that will come down to the lack of goals. And, Everton at the moment, we've got the lack of goals and we've also got the lack of actually being able to defend as well. So we've got the both issues. which is a real recipe for disaster. Let's have a look at Wolves' transfer business this summer then. Let's see if they did any business whatsoever. Obviously, they had the buy obligation for Cunha, so they had to spend 50 million euros on him. And I believe, did they sign Matt Doherty on a free transfer again from Atletico Madrid? Former player. He went to Tottenham Hotspur, I believe, then went to Atletico Madrid and is now back at Wolves. It's more of a right wing back. And Fabio Silva actually has came back to the club. He was on loan at PSV Eindhoven last season and did quite well, actually. A teammate of Jared Branthwaite, so we'll know him quite well. But he's back at Wolves. The likes of Adama Traore, of course, left. Connor Cody left. Jimenez went to Fulham. Nathan Collins went to Brentford for a massive amount of money, actually 26 million. Ruben Neves is another one. I think João Moutinho also left. Diego Costa left. So I'm looking at this, and they've lost a lot of players, Wolverhampton, and they haven't brought an awful lot of players in. So it's quite interesting, and I'll just have a look at how they lined up against Brighton for you, which was a 4-1 defeat at home. Brighton edged possession, made more. There wasn't a lot between passes, pass accuracy. 16 shots to 16 shots. Actually, they had a lot of chances by the looks of it, Wolves. Just looking at the team, it was Jose Sarr in goal, Nathan Semedo right back, Craig Dawson, Kilman, Ait-Nouri, who famously scored the winner at Goodison last season. A late winner, which was completely shambolic, and makes me think of Ben Godfrey as again and getting run ragged. Mateus Nunes, who got a red card, who is out of this game, which is really good, and he's actually been linked with Manchester City. Welcome to the comments, Paul. Nice to see you. So Nunes, definitely, who played against Brighton, he's got a red card for 2 yellows, and although he's been linked heavily with Man City now, I think it's definitely a real bonus that he's not going to be involved in this game, because I think he's a really talented midfielder. Of course, Everton famously were linked with him. Pedro Neto, right wing, and then Fabio Silva, Cunha up front, and Lima and Gomez in midfield. Of course, Brighton that day, they'd lost so many players in the window, and they had like James Milner at right back, Billy Gilmore in midfield, Solly Marsh on the wing. Lost a lot of players, and they're still putting out these incredible results. The Wolves team doesn't really put a lot of... I'm not trying to look at this loosely, but it doesn't look like a particularly strong team. It shouldn't really... It should be a team that we should be dealing with at Goodison Park, with the options that they've got, where they are. If Everton can't beat them, there's very little down for us. But at the same time, and this is where I'm going to come into with our approach against this Wolves team. Wolves are going to try and get it down the wings. If we push our fullbacks too high, they're going to expose a lot of that space in behind. But at the same time, when we're playing with our wingers, often we're asking our wingers to beat both the opposition fullback and opposition wide man, or a midfielder who comes across. So we actually do need to get our fullbacks forward in this game, try and create a bit more width, because we've been very, very narrow against Fulham, and very, very narrow, particularly against Aston Villa. So we've got to try and get some overlapping runs in and drag some players for Wolves around. In terms of my team for this game, I would go with Jordan Pickford in goal, and I'd actually bring in Vitaly Mykolenko at left back. And I know famously I've slated him, but absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I'm struggling to see how I would like to, have Pedro Neto up against Ashley Young at left back. I think that would be a complete disaster. Neto's got a lot more agility and would run rings around him. So I'm putting Mykolenko at left back just to hopefully try and bring a bit of balance into the back line. And I'm also bringing out Michael Keane, who I can't believe that after 6 years of this football club, £30 million in transfer fees and 30 million in wages, that I'm still talking about this guy who makes mistake after mistake after mistake. He needs to be taken out of this team. He needs to actually be taken out of this club, along with Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate. Get rid. And Don't ask me about the centre-half situation because we've absolutely ballsed it up by not bringing in Connor Cody and Mina and having them two with Branthwaite and Tarkowski as the options. Centre-back options are diabolical. But absolutely, Keane's got to come out of the team. And also not just because of the performances. I think if at 2:00 the team news comes out and Michael Keane is on the team sheet, the fans who are walking up to Goodison are immediately going to feel deflated. The atmosphere is going to be killed off before it's even started. And the morale is already low. We're only 2 games in. So get Keane out of the team. Don't have him on the team sheet. Give Jared Branthwaite a go from the start. It's not based on the fact I've watched him last season, because I didn't watch him last season. I had enough games to watch without watching games in other leagues. But I know what I'm going to get from Ben Godfrey and Holgate, and I don't like it at all. So I'm going to play Jared Branthwaite at centre-back, and alongside him, James Tarkowski. It was really poor against Villa, but it's the best of a bad bunch of centre-backs. And at right-back, I'm playing Ashley Young. It's not going to be popular, but I've not liked what I've seen from Nathan Patterson in the first 2 games. He was the weak link against Fulham, and he was the weak link against a very weak link against Aston Villa, positionally all over the place. Same with James Garner, but I'm gonna come to that. So I think the back 4 there is a little bit more balanced, and I think my justification for changing it up so badly is that you have to have consequences for poor performances. You can't let players think that they can be that crap and get another game. So I'm moving Young over to the right. Ideally, I would want to get him out of the team as well, but he's moved to right back, Mikalenko in at left back, and Jared Branthwaite. So look, it's not particularly exciting. And the defense, there's big question marks over there, but I want to see some change in there and bring a little balance and try and get Ashley Young possibly up the pitch. But you do worry about the spaces that he will leave behind for Wolves and their wide men to exploit. And then you don't want to leave our centre-backs 1v1 with anyone, really, because they're poor defending 1v1. Okay. Moving into midfield then. This is a very, very contentious subject because Onana was very good in pre-season against the likes of Sporting, but was completely anonymous against Fulham and very poor against Aston Villa. Garner came off at half-time against Villa because he was dreadful. A former Aston Villa player, actually, I believe. And, of course, we had Decore in midfield against Villa, and he was just jogging around, useless, lack of effort, poor body language, poor passing, technically awful, didn't know where he was. So I want to shred that midfield to bits. I really don't want to see Decore in this game. I ideally don't want to see any of them again for a little while, but the options aren't there. So what I'm thinking of doing here, James Garner, get him off that right-hand side. He lost his man for the Wolves, for the Fulham goal. He lost his man for the first Aston Villa goal. I can't see him playing right wing. He's not offering anything going forward in that position. He's not going to get down the wing and whip a ball in. He's not going to score a goal. Get him in midfield where he can nip play and link up and use his tenacity and technical qualities to try and create something from a deeper area. And really difficult to go with his partner. But I am going to go and give Amadou Onana another chance in this game because I think he is a defensive midfielder who's got a little bit more about him going forward than Garner. And I think Garner and Onana kind of hold each other's hand and they kind of don't take responsibility. Onana seems quite lost at times. So I'm actually going to say your job is CDM in this game, break up play and get forward and drive with the ball. Again, it may absolutely go tits up, and I think he'll go with Idrissa Gueye because he trusts him more. But I'm just giving Onana one more opportunity there in that midfield against Wolves because I'm looking at that and they haven't got Ruben Neves, they haven't got João Moutinho anymore, and I think someone like Onana could completely dominate it. Peter's just come in on the comments. They said if the Villa goal came from Gueye losing the ball. I agree that he did lose the ball, but if you look back, Pete, James Garner, the player that he was marking for the final bit was the goal scorer, John McGinn. He just leaves him, or he doesn't pass him on. There's no communication there. So I'm not 100% convinced anyway. But regardless, I don't want to see James Garner on the wing. Now, moving again so I've gone with Onana and with James Garner as a central midfield pairing. On the left-hand side, I'm going with Lewis Dobbin, okay? Listen, we haven't seen a lot of him. He played League One football last season on loan, but I'm looking at the other options and I'm not liking them. You know, I can't see Patterson in at right back with Young on the wing. I'm not sure how that works. I think it could happen, but I think I'm going to give Dobbin an opportunity in this game at home and give him a clear instruction to run at the Wolves defenders, get the ball into the box. I mean, I don't know who he's crossing to. I'll be honest. I don't know who he's going to cross the ball to, but blimey, it really is bad. Lewis Dobbin on the wing, and I think he'll bring some positivity, and hopefully that doesn't get eroded too quickly by other players, perhaps with their heads down. So also moving across, who's playing kind of like in the number 10 role? Well, there aren't many options, are there? Because I really want to play Danjuma on the right. And then I'm thinking, well, I've got 2 more positions, but I haven't got enough players. I've only really got Neil Maupay, Yusuf Chamiti, who, you know, I think Dyche was bluffing today, and I think he is going to be involved. I don't want to see Doucouré in that. I don't want to see Doucouré jogging around the pitch, getting the ball stuck under his feet and not being able to string a pass together. I'm tempted to absolutely hate this, but could Neil Maupay play as the 10? You know, as a second striker with less emphasis on being a number 9 and then Tom Cannon up front? Or is this just completely farcical? And the only reason I'm saying this, and you might be laughing and thinking, Ryan, what the hell are you saying? We haven't got the options. We've got Calvert-Lewin injured, Iwobi injured, McNeil injured, Jack Harrison injured. And Doucouré was rubbish in these 2 games. Listen, it's going to be Neil Maupay up front with Doucouré as a 10. I know it. I'm just thinking, is there another thing that we can do to try and cause that Wolves defence problems? Maybe Maupay's movement from a deeper area, coming from deep, ghosting in. Just needs 1 goal, and I think the goals will come. I really do. 1 goal in 29 games, though, for us last season. You know, it's a scary stat, but I'm struggling, guys. I want to know in the comments what your team is for that game, because I'm finding it really difficult. I found it difficult to pick my defence, really difficult to pick my midfield, and really difficult to pick up front. So God knows what Sean Dyche is going to do for this game and where he's going to find the solutions to his questions. Just bear with me 1 sec. What was else on my agenda? Bear with me 1 second, please. So you're gonna have to help me out in the comments here with this lineup, because the more I think about it, the more worried I am that there isn't anything functional about this team. And the team that I've just selected, I think, is probably not going to be the case. It'll probably still be Patterson, Young, Keane, Tarkowski, Garner, Onana, and Doucouré. It'll be Lewis Dobbin, Danjuma, and Neil Maupay. I mean, that's going to be the team. I can't see that the options that I've said about Branthwaite, Young to right back, Mikalenko in. I don't think he's going to change it that much. I think he'll stick to his guns because he is stubborn, and he has to change it for me. But that's going to be the team. It's going to be Patterson at right back. It's going to be Keane and Tarkowski. It's going to be Ashley Young. It's going to be Lewis Dobbin, Doucouré, Garner, Onana, Danjuma, and Neil Maupay. And I don't know where the goals are going to come from. And Kevin's asking about Danjuma up front. But if I stick him up front, then who's on the wing? James Garner again. Don't like that. But then I've left James Garner out of that team then, haven't I? Because I've got Dobbin and Danjuma on the wings. So you're right. You could go with Danjuma up front and then Dobbin and Garner on the wings. This is Premier League. This is so amateur. We're all 2 games in and we haven't got any. There's nothing there. We won't score a goal against Wolves with that lineup. As Robbie is saying in the comments, that is a championship lineup. Dobbin, Garner, Danjuma as a midfield, as your front three, with Patterson, Keane, Young in the back line. I'm sorry I can't be more positive for you guys. I really can't be more positive for you. What can we do? Well, Wolves are not a good team. I think if we press high up the pitch, I mean, I'm just trying to give you something here because press high up the pitch. Let's make it really nasty and uncomfortable for Wolves. Force them to go along. Try and win. If that's the game, then we've got players in defence who can win the high balls. Press Wolves, make them go long. Try and stop the balls from going in behind our fullbacks with the long ball. Let's not play a stupid high line and get caught out. Let's win the second balls with that midfield three and try and break through the lines and try and make something happen and hope for a miracle. Get it to Danjuma would be my tactic. Get it into Danjuma and hope, and then shut up shop. Sounds really, really negative, but with the amount of injuries, it's really concerning. So hopefully we can get 3 points against Wolves. I'm not too optimistic. I should be. It's a home game against one of the weaker teams in the league. I just think there's so many injuries. There's so much adversity, so much negativity surrounding the club. I think the atmosphere is going to be flat as a pancake. I think the fans are going to be deflated. We need a little bit of good news. I think if we've got to do some business now in the next 24 hours and completely lift the mood around the club. And one player we've been linked with is Beto at Udinese. Again, 25 million euros bid apparently went in. It's the same exact bid we made in January on deadline day. 25 million euros plus bonuses for Beto. I believe Udinese are looking for 35 million. The Nonto one's dead in the water. He's been reintegrated and he's actually apologised to Leeds. So I think we've also, struggled and we've reached an impasse against Southampton because they're asking for 18 million for Che Adams. And we offered 12 million. And then I hope maybe we can do something amicably at 15 million. But I want Beto and I want Che Adams and I want Mopé to go and bring in Che Adams to replace him and Beto to come in and kind of give us an option as a 4-4-2. Robbie's there in the comments. Robbie, I really wanted to catch you a few weeks ago when we signed Jack Harrison from you on loan and also when we were linked with Nonto to get your thoughts on Nonto as a player and how you felt about what he was doing, obviously pushing for a move to Everton. I mean, you can understand the law of the wages of the Premier League because he's not on massive wages at Leeds. The law of the Premier League, bigger wages, and also, to stay in contention for the Italian European Championships, I can understand, I'm not being disrespectful to Leeds, who are a big club, arguably too big for the Championship, but you can say that, it would have been a step up at the moment for him, even though we are completely chaotic. But it looks like that's dead in the water now. And you think with Sinistera and Nonto back at Leeds, I think they'll be more than fine this season. We'll at least get into the playoffs. Kev's talking about Nonto and saying he's a bad news anyway. I mean, Kevin, I think that's a bit unfair, pal, because you want the players who want to come here and he's obviously pushed to try and come. He's done all he can. He handed in a transfer request. Yes, he probably shouldn't have gone on strike. That was embarrassing. So in fairness, some aspect, I agree with you. But, he could have still said he wanted to go and let Everton try and work a deal. And if it hadn't worked, keep his head down and keep working for Leeds, keep his fitness, if anything. I'm doing comments now. I'm not going to sit on here all night because I did Twitter Space for about 2 hours last night and another one the day before, which was great. But to be honest, I'm fairly exhausted talking about these things. And I don't have an awful lot to offer in terms of insight on what Everton are going to do on Saturday, because with so many injuries and with the morale quite low, I think, as I said, Sean Dyche is going to keep the team quite similar. I'm going to give you in the comments what people have said. And also, if you guys want to touch on MSP, if you've got any thoughts on that, because they've now pulled out of the deal, something to do with it got vetoed by one of our lenders, our existing lenders who we owe money to, and who said that, they can't invest without paying off previous debt with us first. So whole thing's a bit of a shambles. And I think that means that Ken Wright's going to stay on as chairman for the foreseeable again, because MSP were bringing in. There was talk of Andy Bell, wasn't there? And other people who were quite prominent businessmen. And we got a little bit excited, but it's all fallen flat on its face. It's all gone really negative again all of a sudden with this week, with all these things going on, the failure with the transfers, the investment situation falling flat on its face, and the result against Villa and the injuries. It's all compounding and kind of giving us all really negative sort of feeling at the moment within the club. I mean, I've sold my ticket for Wolves because I'm working, and normally, as I say, I should be absolutely devastated that I can't go to the game. But I'm kind of just like, yeah, whatever. What am I going to miss? What would I miss? Genuinely. It's nothing but stress. Let's have a look here at the comments. Open forum now. Talk about the Wolves game. Talk about MSP. By the way, there was talk of investment from a Chinese, I think it's an Asian company. Someone said it was a Chinese company, and a North American company. Both have lodged bids to put, have a stake in Everton Football Club. So we need a full buyout. We don't need a stake. We've got a stake. I've got it on my shirt here. We need a full buyout of Everton Football Club. We need fresh impetus. I'm so disappointed that what's happening with the Andy Bell and the George Downing thing has all ended up falling flat on our face, and we haven't got the transfers in. The window's been open 3 months. It just seems completely implausible that we're still in this position. I know we're skint, but you're looking around the league and you're thinking, how have Brentford and all these teams got so much money and we haven't got a pot to piss in? Peter's saying, do you think with the Keane situation, Dyche is going to listen? He's going to start him again, just watch. I agree. But I think he'll lose the fans extremely quickly if he doesn't start Branthwaite. Neil saying that team minus Iwobi should have won versus Fulham. Neil, so would you stick with the team that played Fulham and swap Iwobi for Danjuma? What do you think, Neil? What do you guys think? Remember to smash the like button for me and subscribe if you haven't done already. But it's a good point, that, Neil. Peter saying, I'll go to a back three. Godfrey, Tarkowski and Branthwaite. Branthwaite left wing back. Sorry, I'm completely lost here, mate. You need to redo that. That's completely thrown me off. Oh, sorry. Godfrey, Tarkowski and Branthwaite. Young and Patterson as a wing backs. Garner and Onana, Danjuma, Dobbin and Cannon. Well, Cannon could come in, but he's meant to be going on loan. It's interesting that, but I really don't. I think we've got midfielders, although they're in woeful form. Patterson and Young then could provide the width. It's not too bad of an idea, that, actually, Peter. I quite like that. But I don't like Ben Godfrey at centre half. And I don't like the idea of Tarkowski and Branthwaite being exposed in 1v1 situations when the fullbacks are caught out. Stuart is saying, hate to state this, but Dyche out. If we lose against Wolves, then I dread another dismal interview. Stuart, I've got to be honest with you. I watched his press conference and I was drained. I was completely drained watching it, and because he's giving nothing away. He's making smart arse answers about trying to sign Harry Kane and all this sort of stuff. And it's absolutely infuriating. Big Fodders Gaming is saying Pickford, Patterson, Branthwaite, Tarkowski and Young, Garner, Onana, Garner, Dobbin, Danjuma and Cannon in a 4-4-3-3. It's quite a sensible team considering, but you could argue a big risk to go with Dobbin and Cannon and Branthwaite and Patterson in the same team. A lot of Young and Garner. There's 5 players there. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players? Wait, Branthwaite, Patterson, Garner, Onana, Dobbin, and Cannon. 6 players under the age of 22 in that team. You know, is there a lot of it? Is not a lot of experience there. The Blues are saying Beto is a smokescreen to deflect. The Blues, do you think that that has been leaked today to deflect away from the lack of investment? And do you think the Alan Myers thing was also misinformation passed to Alan, excuse me, about the potential investment from Asia and North America to try and deflect again from the bad PR? Wormy says hello. Hello, Wormy. Robbie says Nonto's been badly advised. I agree. He shouldn't have stopped training with Leeds. I think that was unprofessional. He's under contract there, but I can understand, and I hope you can too, a player playing in the Championship on a lower wage can want to go to the Premier League and earn more money and go on to better things in the immediate short term, even though I absolutely hate us. John Jones, friends with Unai Emery, saying good evening. Good evening to you too. He's going Cannon and Branthwaite in a 4-4-2. Interesting about the amount of calls for Tom Cannon. When I watched him in pre-season, he didn't look that good. And then he got an injury and he's just a bit further back. But he kept Chimiti off the bench. Be interesting to see whether he's on the bench again today, on Saturday, or whether Chimiti is involved. I think Chimiti actually does come in by default just because of the lack of numbers. B-Tunes, he says, is the admin of Everton Unlimited. Welcome, B-Tunes. Keep going with your Twitter page. It's going well. Thank you for coming on the show. Much appreciated. And Robbie saying, smash the like button. Love you, Robbie, mate. I feel like Everton's your second team. You just like watching football, don't you, mate? You love listening, talking about football. JT saying an investor should buy out the stadium creditors and strong arm Mashiri into selling his shares. But he doesn't know anyone with 600 million. The stadium is a very, very attractive proposition for an investor because we're going to make money from all sorts of commercial avenues through that as well, with concerts and all sorts of things going on. I feel like we're going to be a very attractive proposition if we can avoid a points deduction and we can remain competitive and try and stay in this league this season, get to the new stadium in one piece. I think there will be people chomping at the bit to buy Everton Football Club as an untapped potential, but we need to get away from the kind of those 3-year losses, which are, unpalatable, and go into it with sort of like a clean slate. And we're waiting for that clean slate. John, Wolves battered Man United, so we need to take it to them for the first whistle. Yes, and Dyche said that he's not worrying about opposition too much. He's worrying about what we can do, what we can control, and what we can enforce. And I think that was a good thing to say, actually, because we're at home. We need to take the initiative. We need to lift the crowd early. Let's get the tackles in. Let's press Wolves. Let's force them to go long, win the second balls, get people forward, get the fullbacks forward, get them to overlap, but leave us secure enough. Let's not overcommit and overexpose. Get numbers into the box. Whatever we do, there's no point having one player up front just stood there, marked by two centre halves and completely marked out the game and bullied out of it. We need to get more players in the box. John says he'd swap a Wobie for 3 Pokemon cards. That's a bit harsh, mate, unless it's 3 Charizards, because they'd be worth a few $100,000 each. The Blues want Onana at centre-back than Godfrey. Godfrey's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. I can't believe anyone would even pick him. Peter's saying there's still talk of 7-7 partners wanting to buy us out. We can't go from a sanctioned Russian oligarch to an alleged kidnappers and extortionists and frauds. Peter, mate, it's so funny. You're spot on. They've got a bad reputation, 7-7 partners. Kadeem is asking if we're talking to Beto. It's the same names that we keep recycling, isn't it? Where there's nothing coming of it. It's like we're the kid who goes to the sweet shop. And he's like knocking on the thing. Can I have a free sweet? There's no actual money. And to be fair, I don't know why these negotiations are so difficult. What do you want for the player? Okay. Well, we've got this. How does that sound? Okay. No. All right. Okay. Hello. How much for that one? Oh, you want that much? Oh, we can do that. Okay. But can you do installments? No. Oh, but we'll pay you a bit more if we give you it in installments. So why are these negotiations taking ages? Only to be back at square one. John, absolutely spot on with this one. Bakayoko at PSV is a right winger. He's the one I want to see come in now. I think McNeil, Danjuma, even Nonto would have been a left winger predominantly. They're all left wingers. Harrison left winger predominantly. We need someone who can play on the right. John saying hello from Ireland. Hello, John. Welcome to the stream. Robbie's asking what my hopes are. My hopes are for a stress-free mid-table season. And, 5 years ago, I was asking for Europe and can we break the top four? And we got these players and Carlo. And now it's just, I just don't want the stress. I don't want the stress. I don't think anyone does. Just looking a little bit more through the comments. Tafran saying Dyche basically said we have no money and can be prepared. Yeah. He basically said we got no money, but, the fans want transparency. I'd almost prefer him to say we don't have the budget. Literally with those words, we don't have the budget. But we're doing what we can. Expectations are so low. The Blues is saying Onana is capable at centre-back. I don't think he's ever played at centre-back. But I agree the attributes are there. Tackling, height, aerial, passing. He switches off a lot when he's playing defensive midfield and lets players run off him. Luke is saying Beto wouldn't join us. Who would want to join? We are a joke of a football club. That's very negative, but I agree. Mosh was a full funding spending spree for his darlings, Koeman and Carlo, instead of setting aside for the new stadium. He's looking for anyone with cash to help out. Trump buying Everton. Would you take Donald Trump, Peter? Neil saying mid-table is a dream. Right, here's a poll for the comments. Would you take 3 games to go? 3 games to go. Level on points with 4 other teams at the bottom of the league. Burnley, Sheffield, Luton, Wolves, and Everton. That's the bottom 5. 3 games to go. Level on points with all of them. Would you take that right now? Would you take that right now? Because fucking hell, just get me to May now. I'll just tune in May. I'm not interested in watching this for another 9 months if it's going to be like that. There's nothing pleasurable about it. People say Godfrey's positioning. It's not just his positioning. It's his lack of intelligence, his lack of football brain, his body language, his shape of when he gets all over the place. As you say, gets dragged out of position, can't head a ball, tackling is erratic. He's quick. That's about it. He's in the wrong sport. Big Fodders is asking to everyone, is Sean Dyche really the man to take us to the next level? He's not good enough to keep us up. But moving on, he's not the one we need, someone with better attacking. I'll be honest, I think he's the best that we're going to get in this position and probably the best man for the circumstances that we're in. But I think if we had money and we were like flying around going, we're going to get Conor Gallagher and we're going to get Kudus and we're going to get all these players, absolutely, I would be looking for someone of a higher caliber. Just laughing, people talking about Donald Trump in the comments. Neil, I think the last 3 games are, I'll tell you now. I think one of them, I think it's Luton and Sheffield. I'll give you them. We need to beat Wolves and Sheffield United in these next few weeks, even if we don't win again for a few weeks. We can't let them get points on us. The last 3 games, yeah, Luton, Sheffield and Arsenal. So they'll either be down by then and the pressure will be off, or they'll be 6-pointers. We play Nottingham Forest on the 20th of April as well. and Brentford at home, and Burnley in 6th of April. Those last sort of 1, 2, 3. Arsenal away again on the final game of the season. Who's picked that one? Piss take. That'll be 5-0 to them. Luton away just before that on the 4th of May. Brentford, Forest, Chelsea away, Burnley, Newcastle, Bournemouth away, Derby. I don't know where the points are going to come from, I'll be honest with you. We're not better than any. Where are the points going to come from, guys? Yeah, it's a resounding no. No one wants the final 3 games. You'll be lucky to get that, because last season we were 34 minutes away from relegation. Never mind, 3 games to go. James is highlighting again, Nunes is injured, is suspended for this game. He's got a 1-match ban, which is great. And hopefully he goes to Man City. But then would they be able to buy some players who might take them to another level, or would Nunes be that much of a loss? Peter's saying he's not the best man for the circumstances. He's been relegated twice. That's a good point. TJ Mid, welcome to the stream. He's saying Donald Trump or Mopay up front. Trump would get in the ears of the defenders and really wind them up, wouldn't he? Come out with all sorts, put them off. Plus, he's quite chunky, isn't he? He's a big guy. Still talking about Trump giving confidence in the dressing room. If there's one person in the world who's not involved in football, who would it be to come in and do the pre-match team talk? Not involved. Let's say not involved in sport. Who would it be? You can pick anyone to go in. Could be a politician, a musician, a celebrity, anyone. Who would you have go in and do the team talk out of the Wolves game? Comedian, anyone. And don't say Mabsy. Or Chris. Right. Roy is saying nothing will change until Mashiri. It's unbearable, Roy, isn't it, mate? And the poor guy's he's invested 750 million in the club and he's got nothing to show for it. Doshkin saying I'd have Chimiti and Mope striker. Could we go 4-4-2? Could we play Chimiti and Mope up front? Danjuma on the left, Dobbin on the other side, James Garner and Onana in the field. I think if we saw that team coming up to the ground, we'd feel a little bit of excitement and hope. Danjuma, Dobbin, Chimiti getting his chance, Mope without such responsibility of being that focal point, but still being able to link play like he's done quite well for us. With less pressure. Could that happen? Wagner Group to buy EFC. Don't tease me, and I don't even know who they are. Robbie said Putin on who would like to give the team talk ahead of the game. Robbie's gone with Putin. John's gone with Putin as well. Hilarious. James has gone with Jeremy Kyle. Love that. That's hilarious. Joe Rogan from Doshin. Peter Schofield. Some of these names are absolutely brilliant. This is a big one. Kim Jong-un. David said he'd have Mr. Blobby doing the team tour. Meatball McCann. The Dalai Lama. Oh my God, this is cheering up. I'm getting terrified for calling Mashiri a book. I'm a human. The guy's an arse, but he still put 75 million quid in. I pay £750 a season to watch this, so it's all relative, isn't it? Luke is saying Amanda Holden. At least she'd be good to look at. I'm not going to comment on that. Peter's going to say a proper Evertonian. What, you mean Bill, the world's biggest Evertonian? More calls for Amanda Holden. JTS says this Wagner Group. Is it to do with the Ukraine? It's to do with the Ukraine, isn't it? I heard it before. Yeah, mate, I'll be honest with you. I've detached myself from all these things. It caused me too much stress. But yeah, it's to do with the Ukraine, isn't it? They've got a strong track record. Let's have a look now. It was on BBC, but I don't get too involved in it. It's find it difficult to understand. He had a plane crash. Stuart wants Mickey Mouse to do the team tour. Okay. I don't know, guys, if there's anything else you want to touch upon before we wrap things up on here. Of course, make sure you like and subscribe. We did a bit of a preview. Obviously, it's difficult on my own, unfortunately, today, and I'm literally running off scraps with the information that we've got, the players that we've got, and also feeling a little bit low coming into this game. But I will be doing the match reaction on Saturday because I've had to sell my ticket because I'm working in the evening, but I've still got enough time to do the match reaction. Here's a massive question from TJ Mid. Would you take Qatari owners? What do people in the comments think? Would you take Qatari owners? Would you take Saudi owners? Would you take these really sus, dodgy people in charge of the club if it made us successful? And that's not me saying yes before someone screenshots and records it and puts it somewhere and tries to hang me out to dry. It's a question to you guys based on what we've been asked there in the comments. He said TJ Mid said he'd definitely take Qatari owners. Apparently, the Che Adams upfront fee is $5 million and we won't pay it. Get rid of Damari Gray. What's the hold up with it? The guy, if he's not going to be involved in the team, if he's not involved in the squad, he's been pushed out. What's the point? Just sell him. Let him go wherever he wants to go. I don't care whether we haven't got a replacement at this stage because he's not involved. And use the money and go and buy someone. Go and put that down payment on Che Adams. That's the one you want. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that I've missed. But I'm feeling a little bit exhausted. So if they are known murderers now, of course, we don't want murderers. Would you take Harry Maguire on loan, anyone? Conor Gallagher? Phillips? Would you sell Amadou Onana for 55 million? Bring in Calvin Phillips on loan as his replacement? We can't have more than another one domestic loan, which is unfortunate. Bring in Harry Maguire, sell Onana, bring in Calvin Phillips, and put the rest on a striker. Would you do that? Lukaku on loan. I love this. This has just come in now. And Roy also is saying about Che Adams. I literally put on Twitter like an hour ago that Southampton are asking 18 million for Che Adams. Got 1 year on his contract. And the Southampton, some fan group with 15,000 followers, replied to me dead salty going, you would all know about. I said it's some sort of comedy that they were trying to ask for that much money. And they went, we've got comedy owners. You can't really argue with that, but it's definitely not worth 18 million. He got 4 goals last season in the league. The Harry Maguire one, he's better than Michael Keane. He has a good relationship with Jordan Pickford. Yes, he'll make mistakes, but defensively, I think he would absolutely improve us. He lives in the Northwest. Man United will try and get rid. If there's no suitors for him, then very close to the deadline, I can see him being available on a subsidised loan, and I'd hope we'd ask the question for him because although he's a snail, I'm at the point now where anything's better than the other options are just so bad that anything's better than that. I know we're not going to get the Blues. I know we're not going to get Conor Gallagher and we're not going to get Calvin Phillips, but they're players that apparently are available. And you'd like to think we at least ask the questions if we've got, a few quid. Well, we bid 25 million for what's his face? Nonso. So there must be a few pennies somewhere, but it's just structuring the deals. Lukaku on loan is another one, I think, in a very similar position where if Chelsea can't get rid and he's a bad apple, he wants to go close to the deadline. I hope we at least ask the question about a loan if we haven't used that loan slot with subsidised wages to bring him in. Because I think even if he costs us 10 million a year in wages, I think the cost of 10 million, he'll keep us up and he'll give us a stress-free 9 months because he will get goals because his finishing is far better than Neil Maupay. He'll get at least double figures, and that'll be enough. It'll be absolutely enough. Plus, he'll be idolised. Delete the club. I agree. Let us all do something else. Let's rename this as like some other channel. Not Harry McKean. Not them together. Instead of. It's desperation, but it's creating some interesting debate here in the comments. Wormy's asking about Iheanacho, 50 million tops, got 1 year left. I mean, the price of the strikers is obscene. I mean, if you get players, you've got to cling on to them. Well, Perot is going to Leeds. He was actually linked with Southampton, and I think if Perot had left Swansea and gone to Southampton, they'd be more inclined to let Che Adams go more reasonably. But he's chosen Leeds. So, yeah, I'm going to go now. I'm going to wrap things up. I'll be back on Saturday. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, please hit the like button now for me, whether that's on YouTube or Facebook. Just smash the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't done already. Turn notifications on. It's a little bell. I did try and give you all a few hours notice today with the stream, but I appreciate, it's not an ideal timing in the middle of the afternoon, but I hope that if you're watching back, you've enjoyed it. Hit the like button and subscribe. I'm going to go and do something else now, but thanks for your company over the last hour. Love you all and take care.